Welcome to Make Your Big Impact. I am your host, Angel Tuccy. I'm also known as the Book Angel, and this is the show for authors, speakers, and thought leaders who know their story isn't just meaningful, it's meant to move people, create influence, and drive real results. And today's episode is one of my most favorite formats because we're hosting a roundtable conversation with powerful voices who have each taken their message and turned it into impact in their own unique way. And they're about to share with you what they're really working on and what happens when you step into visibility, authority, and leadership. Let me introduce today's panel. First, we have Jennie Bellinger. She's been monetizing podcasts, her own and others, since 2019 without chasing corporate sponsors or building a massive audience fast. Jennie, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Next, we have Dr. Wendy Labat, the financial healer, best-selling author, and producer of the Financial Cure series. I haven't seen Wendy in a hot minute. It's so good to have you back in my world again, Wendy. Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Joining us as well is Lissa Figgins, scaling strategist who believes time is your most valuable business growth asset. And I can't wait for her to share more. Lissa, good to see you again.
Thanks, Angel. Fun to be here. Can't wait to hang out.
Right? I know we never know, right, exactly who's going to be in the room, but I always know when I bring powerful voices together, it is by design and not coincidence. But rounding out today's panel, we have Wendy Paige Sterling, leadership mentor for high achieving women and creator of the new EI, a modern framework that reframes intuition and internal alignment. And I'm super excited to see you again, Wendy. How are you? Wendy Paige Sterling, right?
Yes, great to see you as well, Angel. Thanks for having me.
I love it. I love it. Well, here we go. And I'm your host, Angel Tuccy, author of Authorlicity, where we help our clients with a book in one hand and a podcast interview, a podcast microphone in the other hand, create ongoing publicity for their message and their method. And today we're going to hear multiple stories, wide variety of perspectives, but one shared mission, making a bigger impact with the message they were each called to share. And before we dive in, I'm going to have you each kind of just tell us what it is that you are doing now, because it's been a little bit since we've connected. And then the project you're most excited about, what's happening in your world. And I'll start with how I introduced you. So Jennie, we will start with you. Tell us what you do and the project you're most excited about.
Yeah. So I am a podcast monetization coach. So I help podcasters actually take all of this content that they've been doing and monetize it in a way that doesn't wait for YouTube to pay you or chase down corporate sponsors, because there's a lot of podcast hosts who don't want to do that. And so there's other ways to monetize their show. So I'm helping them do that. And I'm working with a lot of the same people like you are. You know, I'm working with podcasters who are making a big impact with their show. And so monetizing it allows them to continue to do that. So what I'm working on right now that I'm excited about is I have a workshop coming up, and it is a workshop that will teach 3 of my most lucrative strategies for podcasters. So that's coming up April 29th, so a week from this recording at this point in time. But anybody who's listening in the future, it will be happening again. Don't worry. I'm sure Angel will let us know when we can share with people how to find it. So
yeah, I was going to say, go ahead right now, Jennie. How do we connect with you? Where do people find you? How do they plug into this event or a future event?
Yeah, absolutely. So best way to find what I'm doing is badaspodcastmastery.com. And the workshop that's coming up, it's called the Podcash, Badass Podcast Workshop. So helping podcasters turn their podcast into cash.
I think that is clever. Bad cash, right? Okay, but the first one was the main one that you want people to go to. I didn't write it fast enough.
That's my business name, which is Badass Podcast Mastery.
Yeah, I missed the podcast word in there. How did I miss the podcast word?
Okay. Busy writing badass. And a lot of people are thinking to themselves, do I put a space? Is there a dash? Nope. All one word. Smush it all together.
I love it. Well, fantastic. Very exciting. And yeah, we do serve a lot of the same people. And right now there's just so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity. And so I love that we're in the same space together. Wendy, how about you? Tell our audience, what do you do and the project you're most excited about right now?
Well, I'm known as the financial healer, and I empower, executives, entrepreneurs, and individuals to ease the pain of inflation, which we're dealing with right now, overcome anorexic income, obese debt, spending addictions, and other financial ills so that they can, become financially free, build generational wealth and live the life they desire. So I've got some good things going on. Matter of fact, I'm heading to your ex-hometown, Denver, tomorrow. I'm speaking at the SASH Cash and Class Summit, and I'm working on that third book. I've got the book series, Diagnose Your Financial Health, Optimize Your Financial Health, and this is Protect Your Financial Health. So it's time for me to get that on out of there because I've been promoting it, so it's time to get it published. So I may get with you about your book program again because, you may be a bestseller twice. So I'm definitely going to make it, number 3. And I've expanded my TV show to include a Spanish network. So I'm dealing with English and Spanish. So I got some good things going on. I'm really excited. I got a lot of good things. So I'm going to stop with that for now.
When I say what's the one, almost all of my guests are like, I have so many, right? Because we're go-getters, we're high achievers, and there's so much opportunity. So yeah, just picking one is pretty challenging. Wendy, what is the best way for people to connect with you, to plug in, to learn more about the book, the TV shows, all of the fabulous stuff you've got going on?
Yeah, I would say go to my website because it's kind of a compilation of everything. And that's The Financial Cures, Financial Cures with an S.com.
TheFinancialCures.com. Fantastic. Thanks, Wendy.
All right. Thank you.
Lissa, how are you?
Hey, yeah, good. What a great room to be in, you guys. I love this. I love what you're all doing. So I help women go from busy to CEO. So many people. Well, I was a health coach in my former days, and I kept hearing the B word over and over again, right? And time was like the obstacle. It was the enemy. It was the thing that was always keeping us from the health we want, the business we want, the relationships we want, things like that. And so instead of chasing the time we don't think we have, I said, you know what? Maybe we could just do something better with the time we actually do have. And so I help women to look at their time as their most sacred and strategic growth asset. Sacred because literally we can't do anything to create it. God lays it in front of us every single morning. We get 24 hours, right? But we have to be strategic with how we use it because those 24 hours can very, very easily be caught up in a whole lot of things if we're living by default instead of by design. So I help women really make intentional decisions around what their priorities are in this season. And so the next thing I'm working on is a workshop that's going to be for CEOs to develop their SOP, which is not what you think it is. It's their summer operating plan. Because so often we get into this season, whether you still have kids at home or not, right? And it's like, you want to get out, you want to enjoy, you want to breathe, you don't want to be in your office all day long. And it feels like we have to choose between growing this thing or going out and enjoying life or kids or grandkids. And so how do we actually have a plan for our time and our business growth before the summer starts? So we don't just get, caught in the, August woes where we say, well, I guess, so much for summer, probably on both counts. So if you want to find out more, redeemhertime.com is my website. And the sign up for that workshop will be redeemhertime.com/SOP.
I love that. I love that because you are not wrong, Lissa. Like it just flies by. And we've been having conversations, a lot of conversations. This is not a coincidence about how can we do this better, like simpler and take things off of our plate and just not just be busy for the sake of busyness. And so I need a summer operating plan. One of the things that I did was I blocked off two months. And I didn't and it's weird. Like, oh, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how I go, right? But
then you're going to need a plan for that time. Otherwise, you're going to feel like that time just either is the black hole right, or... Right.
Yeah. So redeemhertime.com and redeemhertime.com/SOP. Yes.
SOP. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. How about you, Wendy Paige? What are you up to today or these days?
Yes, well, I am the founder of the new EI, which is the energetic intelligence, not emotional. And I work with high achieving women who have done everything right and yet are still feeling stuck at a level that no longer feels fulfilling to them. And so many times we think that it's about strategy or that there's something missing within us. And what I do, and what my specialty is I'm able to support my clients in seeing that it's actually generational stories, what I call weight that they have been carrying that has been blocking them from shifting, pivoting, and up leveling themselves and to start playing a bigger game. So ultimately, I help my clients end the calculating and to start calibrating and remembering who it is that they are and what their intuition feels like and sounds like, and so that they can start trusting it and making decisions from that place. And what I am most excited about right now is I have a monthly free webinar that I host talking all about what the new EI is and empowering you to figure out what that signal feels like within your own body. And typically the women that come to my webinars are at some sort of a pivot point. They're at that tipping point where what they used to be able to lead themselves through those pivotal change moments is not working. And so what the webinar is intended to support you with is figuring out what that new operating system is for you now. And there's a really powerful visualization within that webinar that my clients have described as really powerful. And it's intended to work the energy within you to clear it so that the decision and that first step becomes super, super clear. And you can register for that at wendypagesterling.com/the-new-EI.
Okay, wendypagesterling.com. Sorry, /the-new-AI. The new EI. The new,
Yep.
as soon as I said it, I knew I was wrong. The new EI, right? Because
Yes.
you were very clear about that.
Yes.
Oh, I can imagine. That is super powerful. I know for many, like our intuition is there, but there's so many other things that are noisier. So many.
Yeah,
other-
it's the generational stories that you are carrying that are not yours to carry forward. So what do we do about that? Well, that's what I'm really good at helping you figure out.
Fantastic. All right. Well, you
Yeah.
can see that we have some rock stars in the room. When I said powerful voices, powerful women, powerful voices doing incredible things, but really living out like you've tried so many things, you've been on a lot of paths, and I think for all of you, you've landed on like this is what I am brilliant at. This is what served like what I was meant to do. And sometimes it takes a minute to try on a bunch of different shoes to see which one fits. But in all of your successes, I want to know like what was the pivotal moment that you realized I am meant to share this, right? On podcasts, on stages, in books, right? In webinars. What was that pivotal moment for you that you realized the message was bigger than you and it was time to bring it out to the world? And I'll go in reverse of how we started. So Wendy Paige, I'll start with you. When was that pivotal moment for you?
I mean, there were quite a few. I think that, to sum it up is, I come from both sides of my grandparents are Holocaust survivors. And so with that has come quite a number of narratives that I have inherited that I have been living through. And they got me to an amazing, successful place in my life, where I had a brilliant 20-year career in corporate America, climbed the corporate ladder. I was the person they brought in to build multi-million-dollar regions from the ground up. And it got to the point where I felt like I was banging my head against a ceiling at some point. And what ended up happening was my entire world came crashing down around me in the form of an unexpected divorce on top of a layoff. And it was one of those moments where I realized that my operating system that I had been using for the prior 4 decades was no longer going to serve me with where it was that I was going. And I went down deep into myself and did some soul searching and had some amazing coaches and healers that I worked with to really uncover that what was keeping me capped were these generational stories that were passed to me, and all of them actually laddering back into money and wealth. And it wasn't until I was able to uncover what they were, to shift them, to change them, that I finally saw my acceleration. And within 15 months of leaving corporate, I replaced my multi-6-figure paycheck from corporate. And within 4 years, I built a 7-figure business for myself. And so it was really me taking the initiative and having the courage to lead from a new place, which for me wound up being my intuition. My intuition was everything that was guiding me and leading me down that path, to see that what was working or what had worked was no longer working for me, and to create a new way to do it. And I haven't stopped since. And now I'm on like my fourth business that I'm creating with the new EI. And it's been definitely not the journey that I anticipated, but it's actually been different and better than I could have ever expected. So very grateful to be where I am.
Isn't that often the case, right? It's never what we expected, but it's like even better. It turned out even better, but not how I was going to create it. And I think that's exciting, right?
It is.
It's scary, but it's also very exciting. And just you trusting that and stepping into that, I think our audience can take a lot from that.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, Lissa, because we're going in reverse, right?
I just want to say, Wendy, I love that your story of how you're helping people now came out of your own story, right? And isn't that so often what happens to us?
Yes.
So I help women around time, and I've literally been the poster child for time management from remember grade school, you had the assignment notebooks and you'd write down your assignments each day. I was the girl who would write stuff down that was already done just for the satisfaction of checking that box and feeling accomplished and all the things. And so my pivotal moment was actually a doctor calling me crazy. So kind of bridge the gap between grade school and when I turned 40 and had this diagnosis. I was a doer. I just would figure out how to cram more into the 24 hours I had. I had all the time management tools and hacks and tricks and a to-do list. I've never not known, what am I doing today? What needs to get done? What needs my attention? I've always had that. But obviously it got me to a breaking point. And after about a year's worth of time of realizing I had this felt like I had a ball in my throat, I finally went to a doctor and he diagnosed me with hystericus globus. Hystericus meaning, you're crazy. Globus, you have this globe, like a ball in your throat. And he said, you just have this anxiety around your time and all you're trying to do with it. And so I remember walking out of his office that day, thinking what am I going to do? I can't get more time to fit all this stuff in. Maybe I need to change the way I approach time. And so that's when God started getting my attention. That time wasn't this obstacle that I had to fight against all day long. It was this beautiful opportunity. But the value of it was going to come in really slowing down instead of always trying to pick up the pace to go faster and faster. And I think especially as business owners, right, and you all are doing things probably in your communities or your churches or, the area of influence that you have, there's so many things we want to say yes to. And yet we need to be really intentional with our time. And so, so just from that place, I just said, okay, there's got to be a different way. It can't just be squeezing stuff into every nook and cranny and calling it good, because that does lead us to burnout or diagnosis of things like hysterical globus. So now I want to keep women from having that experience, whether it's, the ball in your throat or whether it's just the anxious feeling you have all day long because there's just not enough time to do it all.
And so just like Wendy Paige, right? It came from what you do now, came from your own journey. And I know as we go into Wendy Labat and why she teaches, also a lot of that stemmed from your journey. Wendy, do you want to talk about how you ended up on this space?
Yeah, I guess it started 4 decades ago. I can't believe I'm saying 4 decades. I was only 5 years old back then.
Right?
Yeah, I'm saying I was only 5 back then. But I didn't have any business experience and I had very limited, financial resources. And back then there was no internet or social media or Chat GPT or Google, everything was kind of old school. And in order to be considered, I had clients that were major corporations and government agencies. So in order to be considered, for significant continuous business, you had to project a certain image, which meant, brick and mortar, employees, carry inventory and all the overhead that goes with it. And being a rookie entrepreneur, I got the business, eventually I ended up projecting that image and eventually I got the business, but, that business was expensive. The overhead for just the, for maintaining, it was like, okay, but I had the business, the sales on the books, but I didn't have the money in the bank. And I was lacking some of those basic business and financial principles that I needed to pull that money from my books and journals into the bank. So I learned the hard way. But fast forward to 2017, I expanded my business because the government mandated that everybody have health insurance. So I expanded my business to include insurance and financial services. So I bought all the products and services that I was selling to my clients because they were like, okay, what do you have and where's your money? And I can honestly say what I had and where my money was. So that was 2014. 2017, I was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of breast cancer. So I'm like, okay, breast cancer, you want to be aggressive? I'm going to be aggressive too, because I'm kicking your butt, But that aggressive treatment meant chemotherapy every 3 weeks for a year. I had 5 surgeries, all kind of tests and, prescriptions. It was a mess, but my body and mind took a beating. I lost all my hair, my brows, I literally had no fingernails or toenails. I had chemo brain and it was just crazy. But the best thing about that time in my life is that I saved a fortune on salon visits, manicures, pedicures, and those kind of things. So I look at it from that perspective. But that because I practiced what I preached, my medical bills were almost $1.5 million. But because I, bought the products and things I was selling to my clients, my health insurance paid all that. Plus I had, other supplemental policies that brought me multiple 6-figure tax-free financial shots in the arm that allowed me to focus on my recovery instead of worrying about money, because you imagine that kind of medical, expense hanging over you with your business and personal expenses while you're battling breast cancer. It could have ruined me, but it didn't. So once I, became cancer free and rang that bell after the last chemo treatment and my doctor said I was, cancer free, I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm in my comfort zone, I am good. And he's like, no, you think I took you through, your entrepreneurial journey and your cancer journey for you to be in your comfort zone and be good? I'm like, well, I was hoping that was the case, but it wasn't. So I ended up, he told me that, you're going on a crusade to empower other people to not let an illness or injury, ruin them financially. You're going to, empower people to take control of their finances, get the proper protection, debt freedom, create generational wealth and live the life they desire. So I'm on a crusade. So it was my calling. It wasn't my choice, but I'm obedient. So I'm doing what I'm supposed to, and it's working out pretty good. I said breast cancer turned out to be a profitable, lucrative opportunity. So that's how I got to where I am.
Yeah, I think so often, right? That journey, that challenge that we get through, right? We climb the mountain so we can show others it can be climbed. And you have always been a walking testimony to that journey in your faith, Wendy. And it's so powerful in our perspective and how we look at it. And is this happening to me or is this happening for me?
But you've been a big part of that because I met you when I first, was getting out of that cancer situation and first getting into the speaker, realm. And I remember our first interview, I had my notes, I was all scripted and you snatched it and I just froze because I had, chemo brain. I couldn't remember that stuff. I need to read it. But, thanks to you, and I have to give you credit, the exposure and, it just, built my brand. And I thank you. You're my, what did I call you? My dynamic media specialist.
I take that. I love that. Right. But two interviews a week consistently for years, right? And then and on all the doors and the opportunities that opened up. But Wendy, you had to walk through that. And so kudos to you and what an inspiration. I hope to our audience today that they're just inspired by, you shouldn't have to have it all figured out, right? But just one step at a time. Jennie, how about you? What would you say, right? What were we talking about? What was the moment where you realized your message was bigger, right?
Yeah.
In the world?
I wish it would have started in elementary school when I was getting all of those notes on my report card to my parents saying Jennie's a great student. She's got a lot of friends, blah, 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 but Jennie talks too much. I wish somebody had told me back then that my voice was going to be that which actually would help more people. But it didn't happen until I was in 2017, 2019, when I first got introduced to podcasting. And so I became an entrepreneur. I ended up being a teacher, started out traditional lifestyle, right? Taught for many years, took some time off when my kiddos were born. And when I tried to go back into teaching, it was the middle of the recession back in 2010. And that just was not going to happen. So I was redirected universally. People call it different things. I call it the universe, redirected to entrepreneurship. And so I started my first business in 2010. And then in 2017 was introduced to podcasting as a way to get out to reach more people, because what I was doing could be done anywhere, I could get clients anywhere. So, and at the time I was shocked because I'm like, nobody's Googling me. So I need to find something. And that's when the idea of like guesting on podcasts started first. And then I started getting clients from that. So I thought, well, if I'm getting clients from being a guest on shows, what would happen if I actually started a show? And that just started my podcasting journey, like all the way down the rabbit hole. So I've been doing that since 2019, and that's really what got me onto that. And so now here I am, since 2017, I've been on over like 600 episodes amongst my 3 podcasts, but then also having continued to guest on other shows to be able to help people be able to explore what it is or learn the one little thing that was holding them back in, when I first started guesting, I was talking about sales. Sales is not a 4-letter word. I know. Catch your breath. It's not a 4-letter word. It's technically 5. So, but going through and having those kinds of conversations really was what got me to realize that this thing, this voice, this podcasting, this getting in front of people was really what needed to happen in order to help the number of people that I have been called to help.
I think my time frame was very similar, Jenny. It was probably in in that 2020 time frame, 21, where I realized how powerful podcasts were. And, I was using them as kind of filler, but really for all of us, right? It's a great, you've got a story, you've got a message, it's a conversation, it's a dialogue, it's a permanent asset, right? That is end up out there. So I love that you walked into it, but more importantly, you asked the question, right? If it's working like this, I wonder if I do.
What would happen if I took the next step and the next step, and then look it, I'm down a rabbit hole.
Here we are,
but the best one ever. Let me tell you.
And you have to go down the rabbit hole, and you have to go down the rabbit hole all in, right? I think that so often we kind of dabble in so many different things, and then of course nothing works because nothing's getting our attention. But for all of you, you picked your lane, right? You picked, the topic that you are an expert at, and you become known for that, and you've stayed in that space. But so many people waffle and they try to do too many things. So I love that you guys, it's just brilliant how this is all weaving together. If you think about the momentum and the success that you've had, what was the lever, like that one action that accelerated your success or created the momentum to get you to where you are today? So you have this great idea, you were doing all the things, but what was actually the accelerator that brought you to where you are today? And I'm going to start with Lissa.
Okay. Well, this is a great question. There's so many different directions I could go. I would really say, I actually call it the secret sauce, is that when you feel called to something, right, that just kind of like levels things up to a whole different playing field, right? And in good ways and bad ways. I'm actually reading a book with my clients right now about toxic burnout, right? And there's a difference between the person who's just going and punching a time clock and spending their time that way, and somebody who really feels called. Because if we're called, there are 3 different parts to that I've been learning about. Number 1, we are the called one. Number 2, we have a relationship with the caller, which I know Jenny referred to that, right? Like I know the Lord has called me to what I do around time. And then we have a responsibility to those that we are called to serve. And so I think when like that really just came to me, in fact, Redeem Her Time was literally born in the pew because I had walked into church one day, asked a friend that very innocent question, how was your week? heard the B word again, but saw that like glazed look in her eye when she said life has just been really busy, and just started asking the question, is this really what we're here for? Are we really just supposed to just pass time and then it's over and we were just busy? And so anyway, just I knew there was this calling. There was this bigger sense of like our life matters and our time is the way that we live that life. And so that's what gets me going, on the days that, sometimes I'm feeling a little bit, low or whatever that is just knowing that there is a bigger purpose behind all of that. And so I would say that's what it is for me.
Oh, amazing, amazing. And getting other people, sometimes we see it in other people before we see it in ourselves. And so having that conversation, or you're like, okay, this is now my thing. Wendy Paige, how about you? What was that lever that created that momentum for you?
Yeah, I mean, Lisa, great answer, and I high five you and echo that. What I will add to that as well is that needs to be in place in order for what I'm going to say can really be a great, boost, which is I have built every single one of my businesses on connection through communities. So making sure that you are putting yourselves not only in the right rooms, but in rooms where there are like-minded business owners and CEOs and entrepreneurs who see building business together as their way of how they operate as well. I mean, my first business was actually a divorce coaching business, and I just dove headfirst into the divorce community to figure out like who were the big players and who were the ones who had audiences that I could tap into, that I could leverage, and just started building genuine conversations with these people, mostly to just learn a lot about what it was that they did, how they found their success. Curiosity led me in those rooms, and it just created, the know, like, and trust factor with them, where they slowly started allowing me to come into their communities and allowing me on their podcast platforms, allowing me. And then in return, it was great. Now you guys can be on mine. And so the changing point for me was 100% just connecting with the right people, leveraging their audiences, recognizing how complementary we were to one another, and riding that wave together.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love how you're building on each other as well, because it's not an accident, right? And it's not even like really some secret sauce. And so how you guys are building on each other is beautiful. Wendy, I know you talked about Wendy Labat. You talked about the stages and the visibility that you were consistently on. But what would you say was that lever that created the momentum for you?
Well, I think it was just, kind of like I said, defining what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And then, being spiritually led. I'm a very spiritual person, and, my faith is strong, and I have that ear to listen, not just hear, but be obedient to what I'm supposed to do. And when I do what I'm supposed to do, and I'm told to do something, the Spirit's saying, lead me to do something, and I do, and I'm obedient, it works out. It's not about the money or, worrying, do I have enough money or am I going to make money? It's not even about that. It's about, am I fulfilling my calling? And I find that, since I'm on that path, everything's coming together even more. It came together back, in 40 years ago, but I didn't understand, how all that worked. Now I do have that understanding, and it makes a big difference. I have some really good, peaceful sleeping every night, because I don't worry about things. I know if I'm supposed to do it and I'm doing it. Like I said, if God gives you the vision, he's going to give you the provision to go with it. Everything's going to come into play. The right people are going to come into your life. The opportunities are going to come there. And I just, go with the flow, stay tuned in, because, as long as you're tuned in and being obedient and not questioning, should I do this, and know that this is what I'm supposed to do, and just doing it, it all works out. And it's, that's been proven. And that faith is, trusting and not necessarily seeing, but, just knowing it's going to happen. And that's, my pivotal strategy, I guess.
I feel like I've got my pastor here today, preaching it, right? I love
Hey,
that. I love that, Wendy. I miss you. Oh my gosh.
I know.
How about you, Jenny? What would you say was that lever? Was it hosting your own podcast, being a guest on podcast? Was it something different?
I would say it's actually relationships, so very, very similar to what Wendy Page was saying. It's not in addition to the connection, but it's actually the relationships that I've been building, because since 2010, I've had essentially three different businesses. They all, the running thread through all of them is my coaching and helping other people. And so that's why through each iteration of what has brought me to where I am today, the relationships with the people that I have built is what actually has kept things going, because they're like, oh yeah, it makes sense that you would do that. Of course. Perfect. Yes, of course this is what you're doing. This makes sense, So, those connections, those collaborations, the referrals, all of that continued happening because of the conversations, there are people who, 10, 15 years ago, I was not a fit to work with them. And now we're like collaboration besties, but through it all, it was that we still kept up the conversation. We still, said, hey, what are you up to? What's going on? Et cetera, et cetera. And so it's really and honestly the relationships that, there's a quote out there. Can't remember where it came from, but it's like, if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? And I believe I actually have gone faster because of all of the relationships I've built. It feels like, you see all those, if you've ever seen like logs rolling together and people rolling over something large rolling over logs, right? Like that's what it feels like, is we're all doing this together and moving together as one big entity now.
I love that. I love that picture too, right? Because we're all coming together. We're moving mountains,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're going farther, but of course you're also going faster because of that. And so that's fantastic. Okay, good stuff. We're just about to the end. So I just want you to share, what's the most common piece of advice that you give to your clients, kind of out of your business playbook? What's the most common piece of advice, tip, suggestion, and then also, and as you close it up, how do we connect with you again? We'll give that as well. So I will start with Wendy Paige.
So it's what I tell my clients on repeat, which is to embrace the slowdown, to embrace the pause, because life moves super fast and we all are juggling a lot of balls. I'm a mom, I am a wife, I am a stepmom, I am a business owner, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. You wear all these hats. And instead of looking at all the things you checked off your list at the end of the day, it's really around, how do you feel? What do you feel about how you accomplished what you did today? And so one of the things that I say to my clients on repeat is just to slow down, to become more intentional with everything that they think, everything that they say, all of the connections that they're making out in the world, is just to really slow down and to be more intentional. I think that it's hard. It's easy. It sounds so easy, but it is so hard for us to just slow our roll. And that is the one thing that I always tell my clients, because every single time that they build in a slowdown into their day, they open themselves up to receive so much more in those moments, because they're making more strategic moves for themselves, things that feel deeper in alignment. And it's when the universe rewards them. It's really in those moments. So that's what I would encourage everybody to just give it a go, because how's the speed working for you? What do you have to lose to give the slowdown? And I do say that, and I do practice what I preach and remind myself of that all the frickin' time, so much so that I have a Post-it note in front of me that says that. But everybody, I would love to connect with you guys on social media. My handle's the same. It's at Wendy Paige Sterling. And as I said at the beginning, if you guys are interested and want to check out more of my work, I highly recommend that you sign up and get yourselves access to my webinar, wendypagesterling.com/the-new-EI.
Oh my gosh, fantastic, Wendy. So glad you were here today. So powerful.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome. I can't wait to connect with all of you guys.
Yeah, not an accident. When you think about how all of you threaded together, and it happens like that. It's just magic. It's just the most beautiful thing, and I love being able to bring all that together. And it's always good to see old friends again. Lissa, how about you? What's the most common piece of advice that you tend to give, and then also how do we connect with
Well,
your
it's so
former
interesting
operating program?
Yeah, how it's all connected. So, Wendy, I love that you talked about slowing down and pushing pause, because especially as doers, and you talked about high achievers here in this room and who are listening, we tend to want to push through, right? And then we don't always see the results that we're looking for. So, one of my signature phrases is actually a question, and my clients. They love and hate this, but it really helps them slow down to the presence of their time and the purpose of their time. And that is asking the question, what is it time for? I think so often we're just reacting all day long. You know, we have a lot of demands. We have a lot of what I call rings, dings, and pings that come at us all day long. We've got a lot of people and other influences that want our time and attention. And if we're not careful and we're living by default, then that time will just kind of get drained out, you know, and sucked up in so many ways. And so we do have to, like Wendy said, push pause and say, what is it time for? You know, and so often I think our tendency, especially as high achievers, is multitaskers. We think it's our superpower. It's actually our kryptonite because it weakens our focus. And now we're, you know, so little of us is going to one thing that nothing really is moving, you know, the needle's not moving anywhere. And so when you're in a moment where like it feels like you're being pulled in 100 directions, like do that pause that Wendy talked about. Just pause, take a breath. Lord, what is it time for? Right? And then give that thing your time and attention. And it's amazing how much more you can get done in less time when you ask that question instead of just reacting to your time all day long. So, yeah, and you can connect with me. My podcast is the Redeem Her Time podcast. So I love hanging out there. You can find that on any platform. Redeemhertime.com is just the great hub for everything. And I actually have a new private audio feed that you can find right at the top of my website called Busy to CEO. And it's a time scaling experience. I'm going to show you how to multiply the hours you have instead of trying to manage them, because managing them is actually keeping you plateaued.
And that's at redeemhertime.com.
Yes.
Yes. And then redeemhertime.com/SOP.
Yes. That
For the summer operating plan. I love that. Fantastic. This is good stuff. Jennie, how about you? What's the most common piece of advice you tend to give, and how do we reach out to you?
For me, it's always take action. Like, don't overthink it. You know, it's in many cases, you know, especially for solopreneurs, there tends to be a lot of, okay, what's the right action to take? What's the perfect action to take? Oh, it has to be perfect before I put it out there. Because I'm telling you guys right now, if you go to badasspodcastmastery.com, there's a very basic website right there, but it's got what it needs. Because it's a take action, get it done kind of thing. People know how to get a hold of me. They know what they can access. So it's take the action, right? Don't wait for perfection. Just take that one next step, whatever that is. Decide what the thing is and do it. Because, you know, you've survived 100% of your worst days. Whatever you're about to do is not going to kill you. You know, it's fine. You'll be okay. So, you know, just take the action, do the thing imperfectly, because done is better than perfect.
One of my favorites right there, Jennie. In fact, it's funny you mentioned website. For the last 10 years, I've not had a website. And my kids and my family, they're like, how is that possible? I'm like, I've just been building a business. I've just been serving clients. And we now have one, because at a certain point, you know, they're like, well, where is it? I'm like, yeah, I guess we probably should. But yeah, take action, right? And I promise you, like, all the things that are holding you back, they really aren't. Just step into it and just let it flow. I love that. Dr. Wendy Labat.
Okay, ladies, it's been a pleasure being here with you guys. I'm excited and I'm looking forward to connecting with you. But I've got two. I have my own mantra, which is when you think right, speak right, and do right, things will flow right to optimize your financial health. And the things aren't just money. It's your relationships, your discernment, just the difference in the way you speak, you know, because a lot of people curse their own thing by speaking negatively. I said, don't say I can't. Remove that from your vocabulary. Say, how can I? Because when you say I can't, you shut the door, you're not going to see anything. But when you say, how can I, you're looking at all kind of opportunities and ways you're thinking outside the box. So that's my main mantra. But I also love the Robert Kiyosaki. It's not about how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how hard your money works for you, and how many generations you keep it for. Because we get so caught up, and my friend Dr. George Fraser says, many cultures plan for 3 generations, but most people plan for Saturday night. So, what kind of plan are you? Are you just planning for Saturday night? Or, we get away from generational thinking. We say, okay, how am I going to survive? How am I going to live? You don't think about your kids, grandkids, and the other generations. And we got to get out of that and start thinking generationally. So that's what, those are my 2. And you can get in touch with me by checking out my website, thefinancialcures.com. Check out my show, Financial Cures with Dr. Wendy Labat. You can watch 24/7 at FinCures. That's FINCURES.com. I've got 3 seasons there, working on several episodes now, and each season has 6 episodes. So check it out.
Check it out. Check it out. Well, ladies, thank you so much. This has been an honor, a privilege, eye-opening, and you've all poured into me, and I know you've poured in to our audience. I am your host, Angel Tuccy. Of course, you can grab your visibility playbook if you're looking for more visibility and exposure. We have a free visibility playbook. You can grab it at visibilitybeforebreakfast.com. 3 things you can do before the world wakes up to make an impact. And every voice you heard today took a different path. But the common thread is this: they chose to show up, to speak up, and to trust their intuition. And if something in this episode resonated with you, share it. Share it with somebody. Tag our panelists in the comments and let them know that they spoke to you. And until next time, remember, your story isn't just powerful. It is meant to make an impact. I'll see you on the next episode.